welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, starring the one, the only, this guy.
Foster, that's me. You know, we talked about the pins yesterday.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. This is what you get for paying attention to the program on a daily basis. That'll make sense.
Yes, it will make sense. And if you hadn't heard it, go back to yesterday's and you'll figure out what's going on right now, right?
That's right. That can be done. This program is always brought to you by the good people at the GetGo Cafe and Market in your neighborhood. It's open 24/7. Serving hot, fresh food, specialty sandwiches. They make them on the spot, Moan. They're not messing around. It's not those, whatever you call those rotating hot dogs, you know?
Yeah, a roll dog.
Roll dog, yeah.
Not a roll dog, man.
No, it's real live food made by really good people. You're going to have to trust me on that, or you can head on up to my favorite GetGo, which is up at the Waterworks Plaza, and get to know some of the people up there. We do, like the middle of the night, Moan. You know what I'm talking about? When you just gotta have something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Open
DJ.
the refrigerator. There's just
night
nothing.
Run. Yeah, night run for sure. I'm with it.
Steelers versus Lions Sunday in the preseason finale. It's at 4:02 p.m. at Acrisure Stadium.
Say it with pride, baby. Acrisure Stadium, baby. Home game. Last showing, DK.
Yeah, last showing. What are we looking for out of that? Setting aside the lowest hanging fruit here are the quarterbacks. And we can talk about the quarterbacks later, but like, give me a guy on either side of the ball, like one guy that you're looking at where you say, you've really got to rise up here.
It's the bounce back crew. You know where I'm going with this. We harped on them. We got on them. We put their face in the mud. Bad line. But in general, though, this has to be settled, though. We know who the right tackle is: right guard, center, and left tackle. That's a given. Left guard. You said give you one, DK. I still got to give you two. Whoever is going to be this left guard, whether it's Kevin Dotson.
It'll be one at the end of the day.
There's no rotating on the offensive line. Not like this, man. But it's got to get handled. Kevin Dotson or Kendrick Green. You two be the one is what I'm saying. I'll never forget, DK, whenever I first started, and I'll never forget it. I was like, man, this is fun. I don't want to go back. And then I did go back my second year. Like, I didn't win a starting spot coming out my second year. So, and then I continued to work. I continued to grind. I continued to refine myself. And eventually I got that job and I never looked back, man, even through other competitions. I was like, you can't deny me. Like, those guys got to have that type of mentality. Both have sniffed starting positions. Both have sniffed running out of the tunnel. Both have sniffed being draft picked. Both have sniffed being in that black and gold. Like, it has to be on them to take pride in saying, look, I'm not going to be the one that's going to be the rotating guy on game day. And that's where I'm looking for from either one of them. I know you said one, but I got to give you two because we don't know.
Let's nail it down here. You're the offensive lineman. You're the left guard. I want specifics here. What does Kendrick Green, just him, what does he need to do at that position better?
Hold the point a whole lot better in pass pro.
What does that mean?
That means, look, if you get a guy that's going to bull you, which that's what they're going to do this week. If you put something bad on tape, the guy after him is going to do it. And 2 other weeks after that, it's going to be the exact same thing. Handle the bull rush. And again, no negative plays in the run game. It can't be as negative as it was on when 95 got that TFL on them. That's got to be obsolete. Those 2 things right there got to be good. I know he knows what he's doing because he was a center last year on this offense. That's not an issue. Handle the physicality aspect of playing guard. Okay, you're on an island more times than not right now. You're not helping side to side. Embrace that role because Mason Cole has center locked down. Okay, be stout in the pass pro. Don't give up TFLs the way you did this past weekend against Jacksonville.
Now, Kevin Dotson's challenges are a little bit different, aren't they?
They are. And I'll say this. Number one with Kevin, like, you can't help it sometimes, but find a way to stay healthy. Okay, you got to stay on the field. That's the biggest component of yours. And let's be real about him. He gave up a lot of pressure in the passing game too. We like be the road grader that we heard you were coming out of La Tech. Be the guy that we heard is as strong as an ox when it comes down to the weight room. Translate that onto the field. That's what I'm asking for him, is to show me. I'm from Missouri right now, the show me state. Okay. Like that's where I'm at with him. He has to actually prove to me that he deserves to play. Okay, because nobody's going to hand you this. Like, be available when asked for, and be the guy that they said you were coming out.
Mine is going to be, I'm going to reach right here, this low, because it's the lowest hanging fruit, and it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball, and it's going to be
Devin Bush, probably.
It is. Huh? I'm sorry.
Okay,
I mean, sometimes you just have to go with what's there. Listen, I'm not stupid enough to think that Mike Tomlin has really latched onto this kid and that he's done so for no reason. Mm-hmm. If you saw, and I think you did, the Bush interview with Dale Lawley this week, the one-on-one in which he spoke very candidly. He wasn't in a group setting with cameras and microphones all around him, feeling like everybody's coming to get him. He said, basically, if you go back over my season last year, look at the other guys who had ACLs the previous year. How many of them came back and played? He named names. He went through the whole list. Yeah. Saquon Barkley. None of them came back. I came back. So he's asking for some measure of forgiveness, but also respect for the fact that he played. And that is something that Tomlin has given him. I'm not in the camp of punting on this kid. I'm just not. And it's not just because he's, number 10 overall, first round, traded up to get him pick. I just think this is... Look, Moan, we were there. We saw him as a rookie. We were there. Yeah. We saw it with our own eyes. We don't have to wonder whether or not it exists.
No, the kid is good. It's I know it's hard to grab onto the fact that guys, just because a guy is out there, that means he's healthy. Like, no, that's not the case. I will say, if you're out there, you assume all responsibilities that come your way. And I think he did do that. And also, he's trying to find, some grace, as you said, by saying, look, y'all, I want to be here. I did this. I know for a fact. Let me go here and say this too. I cover the Titans. Like, Bud was used sparingly. We didn't see good Bud until like the last 3 games of the season with that same ACL tear. And now I've had conversations where he was like, I'm so good.
Glad you brought that up. Glad you brought that up.
Think about it though,
Bud
DK.
didn't have his explosion in Nashville all year long until the end. Right.
No. And let's even go even further. Zach Banner is another guy.
Still not
that playing. Couldn't bounce back from it.
Still not playing.
There's only been one, man, and maybe y'all drop it in the comments if you need to, that really bounced back after an ACL year, and that's friggin' Adrian Peterson. He's the one.
He's not human. He doesn't count.
Is there anybody else for you?
No.
Even what was his name? Carson, the quarterback from the Bengals. Carson Palmer. Remember, he was good, but when he had that, he put the brace on. He was a little cautious about moving around. Like, there's a lot of that, man. Like, and then psychologically, like that, it's so many wheels are spinning when you got that type of injury.
Yeah, no question about that. When we come back on the Ramon Foster Show, I want to ask Moan about interviewing former teammates. I'm going to put him on the spot here. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. If you missed Ramon's interview this week with Charlie Batch on so many levels, that's a mistake. So undo that mistake. Go back there and watch it. It's longer than the usual Ramon Foster Show, and at the same time, you're just wanting it to go on and on and on. Was that fun?
It was really fun, man. Charlie unlocked. Well, Charlie's always been transparent with me, man. But it was fun. It got to the point where I'm like, all right, we gotta hit a timeline, and then it was like, oh, screw the time, man. We're just getting started. Like, and I'm so intrigued by it that I'm like, keep going. Like that's where I was with it. So I had a blast with interviewing Kev, Malecki, and friggin' Charlie so far, man. It's been good.
Okay. Are you ready to get put on the spot?
Come on, man. Come on. Let's rock.
Guys, the only policy that's in place for the Ramon Foster Show is that he and I are required to keep it real at all times.
Yeah.
Okay. So when he calls me an offensive racist, See, I can sit here and I can go, all right, Mon, I see what you're doing here because I'm saying all kinds of bad things. I hate on the offense.
You hate on the offense at times.
I see how it goes. Okay, so there's something that's really different about when you interview these guys, and you probably don't even realize it, dude. I mean, I am here to tell you, like, you can even see it on the screen freeze. You have a smile on your face. You know, like when you're with me, it's just like it's this silliness. Okay,
yeah, it is.
Right. When you're with those guys, you're like, okay, I got to think of my next question. And it's just, especially with Kevin. Oh man, this is the guy that was signing your paychecks.
He was, man. It's different because DK, man, it's why you approached me. It's why when we had our conversations about doing this, why we talked the way we did. And when my interview here with the radio station in Nashville, why I talk with them, or when, I'm around, I'm in a position to present myself. Like it's a little bit different, right? And when I'm in a position to, uplift one of my old teammates, one, I know them a little bit more personally. Secondly, like football players get a bad knack about themselves by being meatheads, non-intellectual type of guys. And I know that to be different. So when I'm approaching them about doing a show, one, I need to make sure their timing is right. I need to make sure that they know, look, this interview is about y'all. Okay, like Charlie tried to segue it into talking about Ben. Nah, Chuck. Let's talk about you because they're coming in because they see Charlie Batch on here, okay? And I want to always be able to do that. And guys are so multifaceted and complex, and they have a lot to offer that the general public don't get an opportunity to see, even with Kev. Like people didn't get a chance to see that with Kev. Even you said, Mon, I don't want to be on here. No. This is you and him, and y'all talk the same with Malecki. I'm sure there's a bunch of people like, who is John Malecki? No, you know who he is now, and you appreciate it. And I'm sure you guys watch that, but with Charlie specifically, because he was a mentor type, okay? The OG from the day I walked in, the way he opened up his house, you can speak on that. Like
I have extensive experience with Charlie Batch going back to his earliest years at Steel Valley High School, and then I traveled up to Pontiac, Michigan, back when the Lions were based up there, when he broke in as a rookie and was making a big splash up there, and got to know him and his mom. There's some tough history to Charlie's family, and got to know them for an extensive piece that I was working on for the Post-Gazette at the time, and never forgot it. And you know what? Neither did Charlie, to his credit.
And when we're in those positions, when I'm in that position to kind of talk about my teammates, the plays, the games, the wins. Nah, you see, I didn't really ask him about the Super Bowls, his biggest play, because I think a lot of people like to hear the guy's stories and what gets them to tick a little bit, and that's what Charlie did. Our producer Eddie was sitting in on it, and he was just like, mouth wide open. Like, what you want me to ask him about a certain play against Baltimore, or the fact that him and Bill Cowher like pretty much got the deal done at his kid's basketball game?
Yeah.
Like that communication aspect, like I had my notes written down, like ask him about his errors. Like I never met with a coach at his friggin' basketball game to discuss why I need to play for him. Like even you, I'm sure DK had to be pleased with hearing that story. Like here he was suited and booted for an interview, and Cowher's like, no, we're going to watch my kid and you're going to tell me why you want to play with us. Like that's some cool stuff.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, that's part of what, and this is what I was getting at here. It wasn't to pick on you.
Oh, no.
But what happens is because you're formerly with them, and now you're in a different role. Okay, well, you're especially like you outlined to them even before they came on the show. Listen, I'm going to be asking you questions about you. This is not like a subject that we would bring up in the locker room. So there's isn't there just a little bit of awkwardness to it?
It is.
Yeah.
Because again, when I segued for a second, but when I told you I was going to do this job, like I like to joke around. I don't like to be called a joke. I like to clown and have a good time, but this ain't no clown show. This ain't that. And so when my teammates come on here or people that I respect at a high regard, like I want them to know, look, yeah, you're getting moaned and we're going to laugh and have a good time, but I'm not going to waste your time. Even with me doing the radio, like the people that I work with is like, dang, Mong, I didn't know you were, this way. I'm like, yeah, because I take this serious because I know what goes into it. And when it comes down to my teammates and people that that I respect a lot, I need them to know that, look, we're not here to waste time. And like, y'all, we're going to put you on the platform to get all of that out. And that's why you see me more like straight faced and not, with the silliness.
No, because you're working.
I'm working at that point. And they need to, and this is also what happens is them doing this with me is like word of mouth too. Like, even when I start getting those younger guys on, it'll be like, no, Mon, this is a legit pod. Like, this is a legit show. And they don't need to feel like, oh, this is, I don't want to do this. Like, those guys I reach out to, for the most part, have been like, yeah, we're gonna do this. Even with Vinny, even with Dan, getting some of those guys on Pounce, Al, Dave, like all of those guys at some point getting 7 on them. And even he's listening. Like Ben been like, man, I heard about the podcast and my barber loves it. Well, who do most men talk to? They're barbers. So that lets me know that we're doing a good thing here, man. And when we're in that position, DK is like, yeah, man, like this is some cool stuff.
And the contrast to all of that, of course, is that when me and Ramon are on, it's all just ridiculous.
It is.
When we come back, the only segment that matters.
Hey, Mon.
Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, and the only segment that matters, that, of course, being the Hey Mon segment. And today's entry comes from Jerome Bridge. And, Mon, this is like a fastball right down the freaking pipe for you. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Jerome asks, hey, Mon, I watch your show every day and the DK Sports podcast, and I enjoy the insight. Why don't the Steelers get some free agent linemen, some new guards, and maybe a new offensive line coach? Why do they not contact Mike Munchak right now? It would have to be an improvement.
Jerome.
Look at Jerome. Look at Jerome. It's just boom, 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 boom.
Thank you for listening to the show first and foremost. But this is the thing, though, man. Munch left on terms in which he had a job opportunity somewhere. He wanted to be closer to family in Denver. I think that's where one of his daughters was, having a grandchild and everything. That's all documented. He's kind of said those things kind of openly. It's kind of tough for him to leave. And I know he's back on the market right now. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was on some Pittsburgh radio about a month or so ago, too. So he's out. It's just a matter of what he wants to do, man. And it's sometimes hard to get a guy off the couch like that. That's a Hall of Famer, accomplished a whole lot, did what he wanted to, man, and made Pro Bowlers and all pros out of folks, man. Munch has done some really cool stuff. As far as going to get some free agent guys, man, I mean, we did that this offseason. To be cutting guys now, and I'm not sure if you're saying we should be doing that as we almost come to the end of camp, but I don't think that's a necessary move to be made. You build with what you have, and I think we're all starting to realize getting good offensive linemen comes at a high premium. And not just that, it's few and far between, too. So if you thought a team was going to cut a guy that was going to be a day one starter in week 1, that dude don't exist. He either about to have a suspension, he's got some real bad issues going on, or the dudes that's about to get cut are simply backups. Like, you have your starters. These guys you have in front of you are proven commodities in the league. James Daniels has started. Mason Cole has started. Chooks has started. Dan Moore has started. Again, the biggest issue is, the left guard position. And not just that, I told you guys this before. I said it's better for us to get to this starting offensive line so they can grow some cohesion together, so they can kind of gel and mesh. And then the other component of it, too, is, well, what's your identity and who is the spoken leader? Who are the guys that are leading from behind or from the side, too? Those are questions that got to be answered. We had ever kind of dealt with this. Jerome, as far as out of the locker room guys coming in into starting position, not more than one. Like we got 2 new guys at right guard and center. You got a center that was drafted last year that had to move and change positions. And then you got a young guy and friggin' Dan Moore that still got to grow too. Like, if you really sit back and look at it, you got, and I'm a trigger DK right here too. You got to kind of almost say, work with what you have, offensive coordinator. Protect them if that's the case. If there's still growth to be made. And I'm not,
jet sweeps and more jet sweeps
or bootlegs, like you have 3 mobile quarterbacks. And yes, I said 3. You have 3 mobile quarterbacks right now that can be creative with their legs. So it really comes down to, if protections is an issue, Matt Canada, like, what can you do to protect them? Because that is an option too.
Yeah, I just don't want to see the offensive line get to the point where all of a sudden now you're saying, okay, but if only we keep 2 tight ends on the field all the time and the running back stays in to block and pick up blitzes and whatever. How about just having a competent offensive line? How about that?
You know what, DK? We're short on time for that right now. Because
yeah, I think we are.
That's a camp thing that should have been hashed out, and a growth type of thing too. Again, I'm not out on them. What I'm saying is there are methods to make this work as far as protections, as far as Coach Kuntz saying, look, either get your stuff together or we got to find ways to protect these guys. And no, I do not want to see Pat Frymuth blocking 70% of the time. He needs to be one of those offensive weapons. Or again, we blame a lot of the players, but let's also put some of that fault on the coaches. Like, this is your personnel. Yep. Make it work.
Yep. A programming note for all of our viewers / listeners. After the Steelers game on Sunday night is we're going to record the Monday Ramon show. We're not going to wait till Monday to put it up because we like you a lot. Mm-hmm. And we know that you want to hear what Moan has to say. I'm guessing on this specific subject. After this specific game. Have a good weekend, Moan.
Absolutely, man. Good luck to the guys this weekend. And y'all stay safe over the weekend too, good people.